Hello and welcome to the only one-on-one debate between the two candidates for mayor of Fitchburg, incumbent Mayor Stephen DiNatale and challenger City Councilor Samantha Squalia. In the preliminary debate, I asked questions of the candidates based on input received from the community on the priority of the citizens of Fitchburg. So tonight we're going to do it a little differently and allow the candidates to have ownership of their priorities and their vision for the city. The format for tonight's debate. For the next 90 minutes, these two candidates will question each other. 1 minute to ask a question, 2 minutes for the candidate to respond to the question, 1 minute for a rebuttal, and then up to 5 minutes of open dialogue between the two candidates on the topic. We will end with 3-minute closing statements. The candidates were not asked to provide their questions ahead of time, so I, like you, will be hearing these questions for the first time during this debate. By virtue of a coin toss, the first question will be asked by Mayor DiNatale. Mayor DiNatale, you have 1 minute to ask a question.
Kevin, before we get started, I wanted to bring up the tragedy in Maine and hope that that turns out to be helpful and to the poor issue that happened and the deaths that occurred. I want to say they're in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. When I began working in public office 3 decades ago, residents had 3 concerns: roads, Unitil, and taxes, particularly roads. I understand the frustration with the roads. I ride them every day. It's our priority to get them in better shape. This is fundamentally a revenue problem that has taken decades to address. The fact that we are now talking about road paving as a priority is something I see as progress. Prior to my administration taking office, the conversation at budget hearings was about turning street lights on and providing enough staff for basic public services. My administration has paved more roads than anyone in the past 25 years. In the last 8 years, my administration has worked to create additional revenue for paving by improving our budgetary spending, creating new growth, and expanding our commercial and industrial tax base. This has produced over $10 million for paving efforts, with work completed on nearly 80 roadways throughout our city. The general public has a right to know, what is your funding plan to pave the roads?
Councilor Squalia, 2 minutes for a response.
Thank you. So, in the previous debate, you said that fixing the roads is not about a plan, it's about funding. And what we have seen in the past is an advocate for Chapter 90 funding increases, which has not resulted in any increases. Now, we know that we are limited by the constraints of the budget in the city of Fitchburg. So really what the plan is to utilize efficient road management strategies. So Lexington, Massachusetts DPW recently won a national award in 2020 for their pavement management program, reducing their backlog of road repairs down $13 million in 10 years. They cited pavement preservation through a management program as the strategy. They note, to use each repair and maintenance tool effectively, they keep the data in its pavement management system up to date. So you recently said that if you were reelected mayor at WPKZ, your plan was to meet with the DPW commissioner to come up with creative ideas to fix the roads. So I don't know if it's about a plan or if it's about funding with the current administration, but he's been mayor for 8 years, state rep for 10 years before that, and city councilor before that. If he hasn't come up with a creative idea in 21 years to fix the roads, and the advocating for Chapter 90 funding increases has not been met with success, and it's not about a plan, I'd like to know what the plan for the roads will be from the current administration if reelected.
1 minute rebuttal, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to recognize our DPW and the work that they do for this community. The city of Fitchburg has a remarkable DPW team that provides daily services that we all take for granted, like clean drinking water, working sewer lines, and so much more. Thank you. Economic development. The real story in Fitchburg is about how my administration has moved paving forward through economic development, which has been unequaled in recent memory, with over 60 new businesses open, $10 million on paving work completed on nearly 80 roads, developments such as Game On Fitchburg, new 150,000 square foot Amazon facility at Interville Road, Morin Square Apartments, revitalized several former mill buildings and commercial spaces, 805 Main Street, 759 Main Street, and 655 Main Street, as well as the Ivor Johnson housing development. Laxo letter.
The time has expired, but we're going to open this up now for the 5-minute open discussion between the two of you.
Economic development is great. We absolutely need economic development. But the problem is that we don't fully utilize that revenue to repair the roads. It's a priority problem, right? The priority for the residents of the Fitchburg that I speak with is fixing the roads. And the priority has not been fixing the roads. The priority has been revitalization of Main Street, which is great. But the problem with the funding of the roads, only focusing on funding of the roads, is that we're not using our road funding efficiently.
I'd like to quote from a 2019 letter from the former DPW commissioner to the City Council. This is a letter the councilor often references for her talking points, except she intentionally omits one very important line. The DPW commissioner sums up the paving situation this way: the main factor causing our streets to be in poor condition is funding. The commissioner goes on to state, while our new street scan system will result in a more efficient method for selecting public streets for paving, please keep in mind that we are so far behind with no hope of getting funds catched up. It is futile to argue about whether one street deserves to get paved more than the next one, end quote.
Yeah, and that was $75 million at that point.
Excuse me. Anyone can make a good case to pave any particular street, as we have countless streets that should be paved today.
But the cases that we're making are really just personal desire.
Please. While everyone likes to complain about the condition of the streets, nobody wants to pay for it. The reality is that unless and until the funding problem is solved, our streets will only get worse. That is a quote from Lenny Laxo, the former commissioner.
So at that point, it was $75 million behind. He referenced that we needed $5 million a year spending just to maintain, $8 million to catch up. So at that point of that letter, our approximate road pavement deficit is about $100 million.
That's what
so the problem is not just funding. The problem is how we're using that funding. Let me cite the Massachusetts Municipal Association shared that Lexington Pavement Management Program wins the national award. They cited that pavement preservation was the best long-term strategy for cost-effectively providing residents with good roads and the best way to responsibly manage a community's most valuable physical asset. If you have less money, if your budget is being cut, or even if not it being increased, it's the best time to perform preservation. The less you have, the more critical it is to stretch your dollars and make sure that the roads do not slip. Lexington was able to reduce their backlog of required road repairs from a high of $20 million in 2012 to $7 million in 2020. Whereas, in Fitchburg, we have seen a deficit grow of $25 to $35 million over the last 8 years.
I don't know what the fiscal health of Lexington is.
That's exactly. That is not the point. Yeah. The point is the deficit reduction thanks to pavement management strategies.
Vague information, nothing specific. All right? You're just talking about Lexington. I don't really care what happens in Lexington.
That's great. I have very specific things. This is also from the Massachusetts Municipal Association. It's called Investing in Pavement Management Can Improve Roads and Save Money. Now, one problem that I noted in this report, it notes that the key to success is to ensure buy-in at the top. If a municipality's governing bodies and officials don't support a pavement management system, or worse, don't understand why they're doing it, it will likely run off the rails. The best results have political leadership with a strong commitment to changing for the better, their approach to pavement repair and maintenance. So it is about a plan.
Mass
it's
Municipal,
also about funding, but it's about a plan.
Mass Municipal has been fighting for an increase in chapter funding since I've been mayor.
They
and
have.
probably longer
and where
than that.
Have they seen, and
All
where
right?
have they seen the results of that?
The city prepares an annual 5-year paving plan based on anticipated funding, primarily Chapter 90 funds, and the appropriations from free cash via the mayor. The plan considers factors such as, because you're always stating there isn't a plan. We don't have a plan.
Where is the plan?
PCI
Have
score.
you ever released the plan?
Utility needs, water, sewer,
We've never
gas, drainage,
seen
electrical.
the plan.
What do you want to see?
I have seen the plan. This is the plan. It's a pavement condition index
Yeah.
that
Required
references the worst roads in red
Yeah.
and then orange, yellow. So the only plan that I've ever seen in the city of Fitchburg is simply to do the worst roads first. Now that's a strategy. Is it a plan? It's a plan.
Okay,
Is it a pavement management plan?
The 5
No.
minutes has expired on this topic. If you want to continue it on, you can use your question for that. Councilor Squalia, you have 1 minute to ask a question of Mayor DiNatale.
Sure. Okay, let's continue on the roads. Let's talk about what the plan is for the roads, because there's a 5-year plan, I'm told, yet councilors have never seen the plan. The public has never seen the plan. Can you explain exactly what the plan is for the DPW and the mayor's administration, and why do you keep this secret from the public?
You have been.
Mayor, you have 2 minutes.
You've been a member of the Public Works Committee for
Yes.
how long? 2 years?
And
3
actually,
years?
all
The
my
mayor
years as
has 2
council.
minutes to respond.
I'm not sure why you're asking these questions. Why don't you know?
Because I asked the DPW, and they say they don't have a plan. They say they don't have the results.
DPW commissioner says he does not have a plan.
There is no pavement management plan.
Okay.
There is no street scan study that's available to the public.
City
There is
prepares
no
an
DPW
annual
update.
The mayor
5-year
has
plan.
his minute and 30.
The PCI score, utility needs, water, sewer, gas, drainage, required method of reconstruction and associated costs, full depth reconstruction, mill and overlay, etc. Part of a plan. Traffic volume, sidewalk needs, outstanding traffic safety issues. The city also performs pavement preservation activities on an annual basis as budget allows, including crack sealing, microsurfacing, and cold-in-place recycling. Techniques we have experimented with and will incorporate into the future, including fog sealing and chip sealing. The pavement preservation program activities are funded through Chapter 90 as well. So this year, the city has paved Kimball Street, Industrial Road, Franklin Road, Ashburnham Hill Road, West Street, and Ashburnham Hill Road as well. Next spring, the following roads will be paved: Arlington Street, Goddard, Crescent, Bond, Prince, School, Chestnut, Park, Caldwell, Main Street, and View Street. Next spring, MassDOT plans to repave the following: Westminster Street, Princeton Road, River Street, Kimball Street, Daniel Street, Princeton Road, Route 31.
That's a list of repaving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Councilor, you have 1 minute for rebuttal.
Thank you. So what we have heard is a list of repaving, a rattling of potential pavement preservation solutions. We've heard a list of the paving names, particularly in the CSO project from the 4-month Main Street closure, which was always the plan to repave that. Now, what we haven't heard is actually how we take all of these pavement preservation strategies and organize them into a comprehensive plan to know that what we're using on the roads is the right road at the right time.
Do you not have any confidence whatsoever in your DPW commissioner or that team?
I trust.
Okay, we're going to open up the 5 minutes now. Go ahead.
I trust but verify. When the citizens and the councilors do not have transparent information from our government, it makes us question things. Is that correct? If you did not get information from the DPW, if they just said, we're paving these roads after we pave them, or a couple days before, would you question them? Do you think that's fair to put city councilors and the public in the position of not knowing what we're doing?
I just told you what we're doing.
You just told us what we're doing thanks to having this conversation.
Is that...
Prior to this, we wouldn't have known, would we?
The DPW commissioner informs me that you are aware of these issues.
Oh, he informed you of this.
That's right. He did.
And when did we get those updates?
What do you mean updates?
When did he explain to me exactly what he said?
As a member of the Public Works Commission.
That sounds like an anecdotal statement.
That's a committee.
What exactly did the DPW commissioner tell you?
that we have a pavement plan.
That's what
and
he
that
said.
we're paving certain roads, and that we go through it as a strict engineering approach.
Now,
You're not an engineer, and neither am I.
Did the DPW commissioner explain to you why they're not sharing that plan with the public?
Because
Or is the DPW not allowed to share that plan with the public? As you have said, if we shared that plan with the public would be upset because the plans change.
that's right.
And that's
right.
So
Is that not valid?
Is the plan public?
Is that
or
not
are you
valid?
keeping the plan? Or are you keeping the plan secret?
We're not keeping it secret.
So
All right. I just read off what we're planning to do.
Thanks to this conversation. Prior to this, did we know?
Yes.
When did we know?
Yes. I
Did
don't
we
know
get a
when.
bulletin?
I don't know what
Was it shared on
exact date.
Facebook? Did
No.
we get an email?
No,
Is there a
I don't know.
DPW update?
I'm telling
Was it
you
in the
that
newspaper?
the DPW commissioner is well aware of this, and he informed me that you are aware of it.
Oh, and exactly
You
when
are
did he
aware
tell
of
you
it.
that?
Yeah,
And exactly what are the words that he used?
Today.
He said, today.
Today.
You talked to the DPW
Yeah,
commissioner. He said,
I did.
Councilor Squalia is aware of the plan.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, not true?
I think we have a lack of candor from this side, actually.
What do you mean by that?
Candor?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but-
Candor means an inability to tell
Yeah.
the truth.
Well, what do you think I'm not telling the truth about?
The DPW commissioner told you that
Yeah.
I know what the plan
Well,
is,
because
even though I am the strongest advocate
You're a member
for
of the
a pavement
DPW
management plan.
committee. You're a member of that committee.
You think the DPW committee gets the information that we want? You think we have the power
so you ask
to get
and
all
they
the
don't, and
information?
he doesn't provide it. I don't find
That's
that's
absolutely
disingenuous.
true. I have been asking
That's
for the results
disingenuous.
of the street scan study. Since you proposed to councilors, we pay $60,000 for that in 2019. We have still not seen one page, not one piece of data from the street scan study. How many years has it been
Well,
since 2019?
I can assure you, if you ask for that tomorrow, you'll get it.
Ask
so
for
ask tomorrow.
How many times have I asked for it? But now tomorrow,
I don't know.
will you give
This is the
him?
first I hear
will you
of it.
authorize the DPW commissioner to get the authority to
I
provide
will
these
suggest
results?
to him that he share that with you.
You will
Okay.
authorize him to
I
share
said
the information,
I would talk to him about that.
and we'll get this,
Yeah.
and we'll
This is
get
not-
and we'll get this plan
This
as
is not
well.
some capital secret, as you'd like people to believe.
I don't like people to believe
All right.
anything. All I really want from the city is transparency and a reasonable plan based on engineering data and best practices.
Fine. We can provide that.
That would be fantastic.
Okay. Are we good on this subject?
I mean, we can stop.
Are we both good? All right.
Yes, indeed.
Mayor DiNatale, you have 1 minute to ask a question of Councilor Squalia.
City of Fitchburg budget is 96% non-discretionary, meaning the city has very little discretion in prioritizing where to spend dollars. In the FY24 budget, the total operating cost for the city is approximately $160 million. Examples of the non-discretionary expenses include schools, trash pickup, public safety, including DPW. These are the things that benefit our citizens every day. This leaves 4% of the budget for discretionary spending for basic programming, enforcement, and services. In the last debate, you said that the current administration has made poor budget decisions and is fiscally irresponsible. You have also noted that my administration is spending on our wants and not on our core needs. You stated paving was a need, but personnel, the same personnel who provide our essential services, was a want. To pave the roads, my opponent would have us cut the people who provide after-school programs, soccer leagues, critical veteran services, police, fire, and DPW. We are a city that protects our veterans and invests in our children. Yes, I want to pave the roads, but I am unwilling to sacrifice the core of who we are as a city to do so. What and who are you willing to sacrifice in order to pave the roads?
Councilor Squalia.
Okay, so that was a lot of misinformation and specious conversation. What you just said was absolutely untrue. That I said I would cut personnel or cut after-school programs, absolutely false. So the problem with the fiscal mismanagement that I was speaking of, largely we see it all stems from City Hall budget, right? Let's talk about budgeting with the current administration. When we proposed, the current mayor, to do City Hall for $23.5 million. We also estimated that Crocker School was going to cost us $12 million. We estimated, and by we, I mean the current administration, $6 million for the city, for the library. $6 million for the library, $12 million for Crocker, $23.5 million for City Hall. Now, let's fast forward to today. We have the City Hall. The original proposal, City Hall plus a parking garage. We did not get that parking garage. The actual cost was $2.5 million over budget, so we had to cut the parking garage. And we expected that Fitchburg State University would build a parking garage across the street. Did they do that? No, they did not. At the time, I said, what if Fitchburg State University does not build this parking garage by 2022? And I was told it's going to happen. Here we are, no parking garage. Now, $12 million for Crocker Elementary School. At the time it was proposed, it was going to be a Crocker plus Longsjo Elementary School, middle school combination, and they estimated an 80% reimbursement. The actual cost for Crocker School, $34.1 million. We took $5 million out of school choice funds to make that work. So that's $29.1 million at 5% interest, which will actually cost us $46 million or $51 million by 2045 on an only Crocker Elementary School with a 55% reimbursement rate. Now, if we talk about the library cost us $24 million. The $6 million, way under budget. Explain the budgeting process for that.
1 minute rebuttal.
I want to acknowledge that I asked my opponent a tough question. It's a tough one to answer, but these tough questions face the mayor's office every day. So the challenge becomes, where within the 4% do you prioritize spending? And where do you make adjustments to existing programming to meet the city's very demanding needs? During my time as mayor, I'm very proud of adding positions to our DPW, police, and fire departments. We have created safeguards and practices to ensure large capital projects like City Hall, the library, and Crocker School are accounted for in our projected debt service. We have added new revenue sources each year. My administration has worked to meet the needs of our employees through cost of living adjustments, education, and training. One of our city's largest budgetary issues is our unfunded liabilities line item, pensions and health insurance, which increases by over $1.5 million a year, an almost equivalent amount the city generates in revenue by raising the property tax levy by 2.5% as allowed by law. In addition, our DPW is grappling with MS4, an unfunded consent decree from the EPA,
1 minute is up, but we're opening it up to a 5 minute
upwards
now.
of $500,000 on stormwater improvements. Despite these difficulties, due to our careful budgeting, we have over $8 million in our stabilization fund, and we're able to make it through the twin challenges of the pandemic and inflation while still putting more money every year towards paving.
So when we talk about the strength of the budget,
I'm proud of the work we've done to keep our budget stable and meet our obligations.
The strength
I know
of the
the council is
budget
proud of
actually
this too.
pulls, this budget actually pulls from free cash, okay, over 2 years. Now, in 2015, when the current mayor was running for mayor, he said free cash should only be used for one-time expenses that are not reoccurring. Now, if this is the strongest budget we've ever seen, why are we pulling $2.9 million out of free cash to balance the budget?
There's a pesky little thing called the COVID. There's
COVID.
And we're in an inflationary period right now in the country.
Yes.
Not to mention right here in Fitchburg. That's why free cash is used.
It's the strongest budget that we've ever seen, but also COVID is the problem.
That's part of it.
And increases in costs.
That's right.
So
are you going to deny that COVID was an issue?
I think that every city and town in the entire United States of America is dealing with this same problem. Yet not every city and town is taking from free cash to balance the budget. Unlike the mayor, who he himself said it should only be for one-time expenses.
Have you made any suggestions during budget time to make cuts to make up for some of these deficits and whatnot? Have you proposed any cuts?
The power of the city council is extremely limited when it comes to the budget.
But you haven't even proposed any.
You know what? It is the mayor's responsibility to provide a balanced budget to the city councilors.
If you have a better approach, why haven't you suggested it?
Here's another approach I would like to point out. when it talks about transparency in the budget. Here's the mayor's budget, the current mayor's budget. Here's Mayor Lisa Wong's budget. I don't know if you can tell the difference, but there's about a 140-page difference. And that is a lack of information that's available in the current mayor's budget as well. That's a transparency problem, not just for counselors, who we are forced to go speak with all the department heads on our own time, especially for someone who works multiple jobs. Very complicated. Whereas we're not allowed to speak to them like we used to before I was a city councilor within multiple city council meetings.
Do you not speak to the department heads?
I do.
You do?
I go and I speak to all of them.
Right.
I take 2 days off of work to do this.
I'm only asking that I be informed that you're talking to them.
It's a complicated process to handle the budget.
The least I could ask for as being the CFO, the chief officer of the city?
Are you saying
that I know that you want to talk to my DPW commissioner?
I'm allowed to speak to the department heads.
I'd like to know what the issue is.
And is that
I
appreciate that you allow us to speak to the department heads during budget season.
Okay,
yes,
good.
Thank you.
I'm glad
but
you
I would
like that.
I would like it even better if they came before us in council and it was public and it was not private. And then it wasn't just myself and Councillor Boschman going to every department head doing this legwork of the budget.
Well, you can ask questions during council meetings. Why don't you?
I would love it if the budget was actually had the provided amount, the requisite amount of information to make smart choices for not only the public, but for the city council as well. And I would also like to point out that I never said I was cutting from the 4% budget. I'm saying what we need to do is use our money effectively and efficiently, fiscally responsible. Thank you.
Have you proposed any of that? How to use them more effectively?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
During budget hearings? During budget?
Have you listened to my proposals?
No, have you ever proposed a cut? And even voted for a colleague's cut.
Yes, I did.
You have, huh? Yeah. Not very often.
During the last budget hearing, I think the only cut that was approved was my cut. So I don't know. Maybe you're not.
What was that cut?
Maybe you're not doing your requisite homework.
What was that cut?
There was a proposal for social media.
Yes.
Yes.
That's interesting. Why would you cut that?
Yeah.
I mean, you want transparency. You're talking about transparency. That would have helped.
We need to pay an outside company to do social media for the city of Fitchburg to what? Market what?
It was a contract.
Market all the road paving projects that the mayor's doing in the election time?
$40,000.
Yeah.
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 That's right. And you cut it.
And
you voted against it, I should say.
Coming from the fiscal, irresponsible budget that was given to the councilors.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. The next question, Councilor Squalia, you have 1 minute to ask a question of Mayor DiNatale.
Oh, this is the perfect segue because my question is on accessibility and communication. So accessibility and communication has been a key trademark of my councilor at large tenure, which I do not pay a private company for. I believe that the people are the most important thing in the city, and I've always made it a point to be there for them, to share information and help address needs. Now, when the current mayor was questioned in 2021 on what he proposes to do better to get relevant information out to the residents, he cited the city website. People should just go to the city website if they want to get information. Now, we have seen issues with accessibility and communication from the mayor's office in a number of years. We've had less than 24 hours notice of a Main Street closure for 4 months that affected numerous businesses, and the administration refused to respond to councilors' requests for information. COVID-19, obviously that was terrible communication. The natural disaster, that was a problem. So I'll ask that question of the current mayor now from 2 years ago. What do you propose to do better to get the relevant information out to residents?
Mayor DiNatale, 2 minutes.
I think we've done well with that. It's just not to your satisfaction. Doesn't mean that we're not making that effort and reaching the people we have to reach.
That's it. That's the accessibility and communication.
That's it. Yeah.
And how are you reaching out to the people?
I've been in the public service arena for a number of years. No one's ever said to me that they can't get to come in and talk to me or reach me either by an email or a text or a phone call.
That's funny because I hear it all the time.
Councilor Squalia, the mayor has the floor for the next minute 22.
I get people walking into my office all the time. All right? So I'm not sure who you're talking to, Counselor.
I am talking to your constituents.
Yeah, well,
I'm talking to my constituents.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I would like to verify that.
Over and over, I hear it.
You hear what?
I tried to reach out to the mayor, but I did not get a response. I emailed the mayor, but of course I did not get a response. I tried to make a meeting with the mayor, and then he canceled my meeting and made me go to talk to the assistant. I hear these kinds of stories over and over and over.
Wow.
And this seems to be a recurring theme with your administration. If you look back over all your previous 8 years, when people challenge you in the mayoral debates, they say the same thing. People say they can't get in touch with you. Now, why is that?
I don't recall the prior debates ever that coming up. All right.
It has.
And
every
because
single
it's
one.
not true. That's why.
It's not
all right?
true.
That's right.
People
That's
just
right.
you answer every phone call, you respond to every message.
I would ask you, why don't you let me know who those people are?
Well, that's funny you said that because I have emailed the mayor's office hundreds of times. You know how many times I have gotten a reply from the mayor? 0.
From me?
0.
How about my staff?
Your staff?
Okay, let's go to the 5-minute open discussion.
Sometimes your staff responds to me, often with disrespect, which is very disappointing. And often, when I include the mayor due to the January 2022 mayoral decree where we cannot speak to department heads, city councilors, the public, or the press, so when I CC the mayor, sometimes I'll get a reply from your administrative assistants derailing the conversation, telling me, Sam, that snow pile is actually not a problem. The DPW shouldn't have to deal with this. Things like that. Now, is that effective communication for our constituents?
I'm questioning whether or not what you're telling me is accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, because you don't read these emails?
Okay.
You were included on this email chain.
Yeah.
Did you not read this email?
Yeah,
This happened at Memorial Middle School last year during the snow.
I get a lot of emails.
There was a concern from parents dropping off their students.
I know.
At
Couldn't
the
make
sidewalk.
the turn. Right.
It wasn't the turn.
Yeah.
It was parking at the street.
Yeah, I got it.
They drop
Okay.
off their kids.
Yeah.
And they were asking if the snow
And
piles could be
DPW
removed.
didn't correct that.
The first response was from your assistant to rudely tell me that, Sam, this is not an issue. They should just go park somewhere else.
Okay.
I mean, is that the kind of respect that we want to give city councilors that are representing constituents? Is that how you treat constituents?
Have you had that conversation with her?
The last conversation I had with your assistant was at the administrative building where she was yelling names at me. So,
didn't
when
hear
we
a thing
talk
about that.
you want to continue on the disrespect, or how about the email response that I got when we talk about the Main Street closure? Main Street was closed for 4 months, right? You proposed to close Main Street for 4 months. Didn't inform the councilors, didn't inform the public, didn't even inform the businesses until the contractor taped a flyer to the doors. When I found out about this on Monday, July 17th, I contacted your office. I contacted the DPW. I did not get the courtesy of a response. Then finally, days after days after days, Friday afternoon at 2 p.m., it gets posted to the city website. And then finally, the mayor's assistant responds to me after I forwarded that website link, and I said, thank you for posting it on the website. However, it would have been nice to get a response all week for the residents and the businesses and the respect of the elected officials. The city deserves better. Do you know what the response I get? Did you read that email?
Probably.
Did you see what the response was?
No,
Can you
I don't recall.
Can you remember what the response was?
No, I don't.
Your assistant said to me, the city deserves better than you. That's the kind of respect that we get when we contact the mayor's office.
So
now, can you explain why that is?
Are you telling me once again that the
Accessibility and communication.
the DPW commissioner was a failure in communicating that project?
I don't believe that it was the DPW commissioner.
Weston and Sampson,
yes,
along with them.
I don't believe.
And the police department.
I would not throw this.
So that's the police department as well.
I would not throw the DPW and the police department under the bus like you just did. I believe it was a failure in communication from the mayor's administration.
You did.
The mayor's administration did not allow them to share this information. Why?
That's not true.
Oh,
That's
it's not true.
No, it is not.
Then why did I not get a response all week for the businesses.
I'm not sure.
Why, when the
I'm not
businesses
sure.
called the mayor's office, they did not get a response?
I'll research that for you.
I would love to see the results of that research.
Yeah. We'll talk
preferably
about
in
that.
a respectful manner.
Well, you know, respect goes both ways, Counselor. You know?
Explain to me when I have been disrespectful to you.
Not to me.
Because I could do
Not
a whole
to me, because
list.
you,
I could
you
do a list
very
like
seldom
this.
communicate with me.
Oh,
very seldom.
Except for my hundreds of emails.
No, that's right. And the email is CCing me to inform me that you're talking to a department head. And you think that's outrageous that I would want to know that.
So explain to me, if I emailed you personally and you've never responded to me, would I continue to email you?
You
know the
emailed me
definition.
personally?
Do you understand what the definition of insanity is?
Personally?
It's to continue to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result.
That's good.
That is not what we do.
Okay.
What we do as counselors is we perform effective communication and accessibility. When I know that the mayor is not going to respond to me, I find another way to get the problems resolved.
You're not the easiest person to deal with either. So
I am not
my
easy.
Staff might have problems.
I do ask questions.
And you
I don't just follow. I don't just follow along.
I know.
I ask questions. Yep. I represent the people of the city of Fitchburg.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Mayor DiNatale, you have 1 minute to ask a question of Councilor Squaglia.
In 2017, I made the commitment to the city of Fitchburg to return City Hall back to 718 Main Street. My team made this commitment a reality. This $23.5 million public investment was recognized in the Worcester Business Journal, which said, and I quote, "The Fitchburg City Hall sends a clear message to any business or individual thinking about investing in a North Central community. Fitchburg is indeed on the rise." My opponent voted against City Hall. Because of my team's investment in Main Street and City Hall, we have attracted more than $200 million in public and private investment. She voted against it. Created over 500 housing units in our downtown. She voted against it. Pauper's Pantry, Dario's, Rise and Grind, Tacos and Tequilas, Fitchburg Arts Community Project. She voted against it. And the city still has been able to invest in building a new library, a new school, and address other capital priorities. While we focused on moving this city forward, she focused on saying no. You're now running to sit in the office of a city hall you opposed. Knowing the positive growth City Hall has had for our community, do you regret not investing in our downtown?
Councilor Squaglia, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, citing the City Hall as the impetus for all of this spending, I think is specious. I think citing City Hall as the one driver for all this economic development, I think is ridiculous. I think that if City Hall wasn't done and all these other projects could have potentially been funded, I think that potentially we could see the same result, but maybe with better government spending. Now, we said $200 million in public and private investment, and a lot of that is public investment. These are state grants, these are federal grants, we have ARPA funds, and these are great. And Fitchburg is the kind of city that is prime for these kinds of investments. We are a gateway city that the state wants to invest in. We have mass development that is investing in the city as they created a vacuum in our industrial and commercial base thanks to Devon's. So Fitchburg is prime for these kinds of investments, and absolutely we should be looking at them. But when we talk about City Hall, one thing we need to focus on is what we were told when we were sold this project. We were told the budget. I already talked about the numbers. We were $22 million over the original budget for Crocker School, and we didn't get a Longs Joe School. We were $18 million over the budget for the library, and that is largely thanks to the $12 million in ARPA funding that we allocated to the library because we had to, because we misbudgeted when we put the $23.5 million to the City Hall. So that $12 million of ARPA funds as well, that could have gone to fixing the underground pipes in the road on Main Street, which could have added further economic development, and maybe use that $12 million in other ways, like lessening the burden on the sewer and the water rates.
How did you vote on that, Councilor?
How did I vote on the City Hall? I voted against that.
No, but how did you vote on the library and Crocker School, on the funding component?
Mr. Mayor, are you trying to tell me that because
Go right to
of
the 5-minute direct interaction.
Because of the fiscal mismanagement of the City Hall, now I am supposed to, because I disagreed with that, because I warned of the fiscal problems, I am supposed to vote against the library, the true building for the public, the true building of the community. I'm supposed to vote against the library.
Not the library.
I'm supposed to
Crocker
vote against.
School.
I'm supposed to vote against a Crocker school.
Yeah.
Because I voted.
I don't know. Did
because
you?
I said when City Hall was being proposed, I said I have major concerns. We're doing City Hall before we have an economic development plan. We're doing City Hall before we have a strategic development plan. We're doing City Hall before we even have a capital needs list. And because I warned of that and advocated strongly, I am supposed to vote against a new Crocker Elementary School, which was funded 55% by the MSBA, which we were told originally 80% funding. Is that what you're trying to tell me? I am supposed to serve as a roadblock?
So are you? Where's your office going to be? The Redevelopment Authority or in City Hall? If you're elected mayor.
Can you elaborate
well, because
on
you voted
what
against the building. Why would you want to be sitting in there?
the City Hall
Yeah.
was the will of the councilors and of the mayor.
Okay.
And I support my city. But that doesn't mean that I'm out here. That doesn't mean I'm out here being a roadblock because of it. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk about the problems of the past that are creating the problems of the future.
So, Councilor, what would you have done with that building if we didn't restore it?
Well, it's hard to talk about things that we could have done in the past.
But what would you have done?
But the fact is, at the Redevelopment Authority, we were paying $140,000 a year, and that was just in the lease, which we were paying to the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority, which is a quasi-public, authority that only benefits the development of the city of Fitchburg.
But again, my question is,
we were essentially paying it ourselves.
What were you going to do with that building? What would you have proposed doing with that building?
What would we do with Old City Hall? There's a number of things that we could have done with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what?
One thing I would have liked to see is put the project on hold until we could actually afford it. Put the project on hold until we had, let's say, an economic development plan. Let's put the project on hold until we have a strategic development plan. Let's put the project on hold until we have a capital needs list. Let's put the project on hold until we get a real budget for the Crocker Elementary School, which cost $34.1 million, and what the city estimated would be $12 million. That's what I would have proposed. I would say, let's look at this in a fiscally responsible manner, and let's look at the holistic approach to all the capital needs that we have in the city, and then let's determine what the best use forward is.
When I was in the legislature, Councilor.
When you look back, do you regret?
When I was in the legislature,
what you told us.
When you keep talking about studies and plans, it reminds me of when a bill goes to study. Do you know what that means? It's dead.
So did we not have a study for City Hall?
Inertia.
Did we have a study for City Hall?
Actually, we did.
Why did we do a study for City Hall if there is no point for studies?
That's right, we did. Yeah. So what are you talking about?
But your argument is that we shouldn't do studies because we just ignore studies.
But you're asking for more. You want to do more studies.
Did we actually do? Did we perform an economic development plan?
I'm not sure whether. I don't think we have
yet. Yes, we did. We did. Okay. We did an economic development plan. That was after we proposed to spend the money on City Hall. Did we perform a strategic development plan?
I think so.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Do we have a capital needs list? I haven't seen a capital needs list.
So again, what would you have done?
Considering that we had a capital improvement commission that used to meet on a regular basis, but the last meeting of that was just a vote on City Hall.
Yeah.
So why don't we have a capital improvements list of the city of Fitchburg? Why don't we have capital improvement commission meetings? But also back to, you said, why have a study? Why have these studies? But we did do these studies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So why did we not wait?
It's not a study. It's a feasibility to make sure that it works. All right? And it did. And it does.
Tomato.
Okay, fine. But that's an answer to your question. We have done that.
Okay, the next question will be from Councilor Squalia to Mayor DiNatale.
Okay, great. So we already talked about the Main Street's closure, because that was going to be my next question. It was going to be, why did residents and businesses only get 3 days notice of the 4-month Main Street closure? But since we already discussed that, I'll put that away. Let's talk about school administration. So recently, the Fitchburg Education Association had a rally for the schools that the Fitchburg students deserve to demand better oversight of the superintendent and support for Fitchburg educators. They had issued a 93% vote of no confidence in our previous superintendent in November of 2022. Our mayor issued a letter to the Fitchburg Education Association noting that simply the school committee continues to have confidence in the previous superintendent, dismissing their concerns. And at the end of the school year, we saw the previous superintendent resign. We have seen huge turnover in important positions in our school system, particularly in our principals, vice principals. So with all of that said, how will you assure teachers that your best interest is with them and the education of students? And then secondarily, can you speak to why we're having such a hard time retaining staff within our public schools?
2 minutes, Mayor.
Retaining staff is a condition that exists everywhere. It's been difficult for most communities to keep people in their jobs. We're trying desperately. We've done a great job of putting together a plan to hire people that look more like the students that we have. 78% of our student population identifies as non-white. 58% are Hispanic. We're trying to meet that need, and we're doing the best we can right now. But again, those obstacles exist in many communities. But we have assured the FEA that we're going to work with them. They have already informed me that they think Jonathan Thompson, as the acting superintendent, has done an outstanding job. They're getting along well with him. There's a working relationship that's going to be going to be more effective for the population in the school system.
Councilor, 1 minute.
Thank you. I have high confidence in John Thompson. But now, when the mayor references, working to hire staff that look more like them, it notes in the Fitchburg Education Association letter to the school committee that Superintendent Jokala has fired 3 administrators of color and filled those positions with white staff to take their place. This is from the Fitchburg Education Association to you. This was a numerous-page letter full of their concerns, citing a 93% no confidence vote. Now, they asked the mayor, as the chair of the school committee and the school committee, they asked that the school committee take action to ensure that the situation in the district does not deteriorate further, and they asked for a response. And the response that we got was the school committee continues to have confidence in Superintendent Jokala and his leadership team. That's it. Now, it feels very dismissive.
And that was as
We
a
open it up
result
now for a
of
5 minute.
that was as a result of the school committee's concerted opinion on the superintendent. Why are we talking about
which you are the chair
personnel
of.
matters
Now,
where the individual is no longer here?
Now, the question is, the Fitchburg Education Association,
Yeah.
our union, are they still here?
Yeah.
Are you still the
Of course.
current
Yeah.
chair of the school committee?
Yes.
Is this still potentially an issue in that regard? Yes, it is. So now my
No, it
original
isn't.
question was specifically retaining, how will you assure teachers that your best interest is with them and the education of our students? You missed that one. Do you want to answer that? Assure teachers that your best interest is with them and the education of our students, and not just with the administration.
We have met on a regular basis with the FEA. They understand my position as well as the school committee. As the chair, I have a concerted opinion from the committee, and I act on it. Mm-hmm. They know that. They know that.
Well, that's great because I have the words of the executive director. The mayor was not in attendance at the May meeting.
Executive director.
Ms. Katie Schmidt.
Yeah.
She is also a Fitchburg resident, and she's a mathematics teacher at Fitchburg Public Schools. She said, I love Fitchburg. I love my school. I love my students. I love teaching. The teachers, the paraprofessionals, the clerical staff.
When was this written?
This was in May of 2023 when at the city council, at the school committee meeting, which the mayor was not in attendance. The teachers, the paraprofessionals, the clerical staff, and the custodians are not happy with what's going on at our schools. The vote of no confidence on the superintendent was a last resort action that we did not want to do, but we did because no one was listening or acting on our concerns. We sent a letter privately to you, the school committee, and the response came back, not from you, but from the superintendent, and very publicly. We were shocked and disappointed. Can you explain that? When we are talking about supporting our teachers, supporting our union, supporting our children. Can you explain why we had to make this very publicly?
My document was submitted. The superintendent had his opportunity as well.
And you had confidence.
That's right.
Right. Great. Well, you know what? My daughter and I are proud products of the Fitchburg Public Schools. I'm personally vested, and from my perspective, there's no greater advocate for mayor for our success when we manage the Fitchburg Public Schools. They deserve a mayor that will not dismiss a 93% no confidence vote in an administrator, and they deserve mayors that walk the halls, that won't ignore problems like leaking roofs, broken heating systems, or lack of maintenance until the media comes to town.
No one submitted more money to repair the buildings in this school system than I have as mayor.
And for all the money that has been submitted, we appreciate.
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We good? Next question, Mayor DiNatale. You have 1 minute to ask a question of Councilor Squalia.
At FATV's preliminary mayoral debate, you stated that we are better than we were 8 years ago, when I was elected to my first term as mayor. You have also said that most often you vote in favor of what my administration puts before the council because most often it is in the right direction. You said Fitchburg is ripe for opportunity, and we have all the foundations of success. Fitchburg is ready. I was pleased to hear you speaking positively about Fitchburg. Please tell the voters what results my team has achieved that make Fitchburg better now than it was 8 years ago. Other than your votes against investing in our downtown and funding a communications and marketing service for the city, how are you offering anything different?
Councilor Squalia.
So, as your elected representative, it's not my job to serve as a roadblock. It's my job to promote the assets of the city and do the best that I can for fiscal growth and for fiscal responsibility and to represent the citizens of Fitchburg, right? We all want the same thing. We all want a better Fitchburg. We all want a more prosperous Fitchburg. We all want the downtown to flourish.
So what are you going to do to make it better?
She has a minute and a half.
To make it better.
We all want roads that have been improved. We all want businesses to shop at. We all want accessibility and transparency within the mayor's office. I am not over here telling anyone that I am taking drastic changes to the city of Fitchburg. But what we are going to focus on is a reprioritization of the focus of the mayor's vision and the way that people are treated within the city. We have a transparency, we have a communication, we have a lack of respect problem in the city of Fitchburg, and what we really need is a new face with energy and commitment and dedication to take the baton and run forward with energy into the future. What we have seen is a kind of checking out from the current administration. We've seen a lack of care. We've seen a lack of response. So what I propose is not drastic changes. I do think that we are better than 8 years ago. I think Fitchburg is continuously getting better. When people say, Sam, how's Fitchburg doing? I say 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Because are we going at the right trajectory? Yes. Are we going as fast as I think we could be? No.
Mayor DiNatale, 1 minute rebuttal.
I'm going to be the same mayor you've elected to 4 terms in this office. Here are my priorities for the next term. I will continue on deliverable paving efforts with multi-year paving contracts allowing for expedited operations, mobilization, and purchasing power. We will continue to bring in new revenues through additional economic development efforts. We will create more housing, and we will all engage and listen to build on our teamwork with city employees and city residents to make a city hall for all. If you give me your vote, I promise that this is what we will deliver together.
Okay, we have a 5-minute open discussion on this topic. If anyone has anything else to say on it?
Sure. I think that we need a new focus in the city of Fitchburg. One of my strengths is building relationships and working well with people. And there is a difference between experience and tenure. There is a difference between effective leadership and ineffective leadership. While the current mayor has had 24 years of experience as a Fitchburg politician, with 6 years of serving as a city councilor at large, I currently have more municipal experience than the current mayor did when he was first elected mayor. The mayor's vision guides us, but it's the employees of the city that take us there. So I believe that for Fitchburg, we can have a new face as mayor for our residents, for our businesses, and for our regional state partners, because it's not about the individual. It's about the commitment to the city of Fitchburg.
We good? Okay, next question will be Councilor Squalia to Mayor DiNatale.
Okay, great. So let's talk about everyday problems, right? We have large-scale projects that are decades in the making, and these are vital to the city's future. But on the other hand, we have small, everyday problems that are being ignored. The issues that really affect everyday residents. When we are talking about a government that works for us, we are talking about a lot of the small things. There are outstanding pothole repair requests that have lasted months in the city without repair. There are some reported potholes that have damaged numerous vehicles in a row, over and over and over. These cost unnecessary expense for hundreds or thousands of dollars of our residents, and they remain unrepaired. So, how can the mayor's office help reprioritize our focus to fix the small things that give us pride in the city, like fixing the potholes, cutting the brush, sweeping the streets, and cleaning the storm drains?
Mayor DiNatale, 2 minutes.
Well, once again, you're commenting on the performance of the DPW. And obviously, you don't believe they're doing the job. Filling potholes is a constant because of the condition of our roads. You know that, Councilor. You know that better than anyone. All right? Cutting brush, once again. We have many areas throughout the city. It's difficult to keep up with all of them. And you get involved, and you bring up issues that really you as a city councilor are not looking out for the best interest of the city. The other DPW issues, DPW is working very, very hard. And the DPW commissioner, who I might add, we have one of the best in the area, is doing the best that they can. They respond when they need to. It's probably based on the volume of the pothole issue. We've got a lot of them. We know that. But they're doing the best that they can.
Councilor Squalia, 1 minute rebuttal.
Thank you. It sounds like the current mayor wants to take credits for the good things and then not the bad. It sounds like the current mayor is trying to throw the DPW under the bus for the concerns of the administration. When there's problems in the city, there's excuses, and it's the DPW is doing the best they can. It's excuses. She's blaming the DPW. But when there's great things that's going on, it's the mayor's administration is the one that did this. It's the mayor's administration that provided the funding. It's the mayor's administration that made this a priority.
Yeah.
I think actually it is a priority problem. I think the mayor's administration is hamstringing the DPW, as they do with other departments, and not allowing them to focus on the little things. But that's the question that I asked.
Do you think I get involved with that minutia on a daily basis?
How can the mayor's office reprioritize our focus?
Okay, we're going to open it up for 5 minutes.
Do you think the mayor's office should not be involved in potholes?
We get those calls, we respond, we pass them on. I'm not going to go out and fill the pothole, just like you won't.
I don't go out and fill the pothole.
All right. And they're doing the best they can. What do you want? What is it that you want from the DPW?
What I would like is from the mayor's administration to make the small things a priority. Now, for example, cutting the brush.
Yeah.
Can you explain why we aren't cutting the brush at intersections?
I can't say that we're not cutting the brush at intersections.
I can say it.
We're probably not getting to it.
I can say it, and I can say
your
that you've been CC'd on numerous requests.
To your satisfaction, we're not getting there quick enough.
To my satisfaction, I am an elected representative of 41,000 residents. I represent their voice. Their voice says, Sam, here's brush that's not cut. This is dangerous. I'm trying to sneak out. I'm trying to get out, and I can't, and I almost got hit. Some guy got hit. Who knows how many accidents that we have seen from a lack of attention at these intersections? And the question was not answered. Why are we not cutting the brush? Why are we not filling the potholes? Why does it take 6 months to fill a pothole? Why do we not get communication on these requests?
Because that's not all the DPW does.
So again, this is all the DPW. This is not the mayor's administration at all.
Again, Counselor, you going to get out there and fill the potholes?
Takes all the credit for the good things.
That's not what you're going to be doing.
For the problems, it's the excuses of the mayor's administration.
Okay. It's the reality of it.
The reality.
Yeah.
So you can't explain where the roadblock is. You're the CEO of the city. You are the CEO of the city. The DPW serves at the pleasure of the mayor.
And that's all you think they do.
They serve at the pleasure of the mayor. And you don't know why we can't do these little things.
No, I do know why.
Explain.
Because of the volume of work. That's not all the DPW does, is fill potholes and cut brush. It's a lot more than that, what they do. All right? Yeah.
Do you know when the last time they cut brush was?
No, I don't.
Do you know how many times that we cut brush?
Of course you do.
Do you know what machine they use to cut the brush?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
It's a brush cutter.
A brush cutter? What does it look like?
I've seen it before.
How big is it?
I don't know how big it is. What does that matter?
Is it handheld?
What does that matter? No, it's not.
Okay.
All right, yeah. I know what a brush cutter is.
Do you know when the last time we used that?
Probably on the street that you complained about.
The street? The street?
Or the citizen complained about.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if you saw my email, there were actually dozens of concerns.
I'm sure there were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I addressed the concerns.
You drove around and looked for those areas.
Unfortunately, I don't have the time to drive around and look for the areas.
Okay.
But what I do have is the pulse of this community, and they reach out to me with all their concerns. I get dozens of concerns of brush cutting. Do you in the mayor's office ever get these?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you reach out to the DPW to get the brush cut, do you follow up?
I do.
Oh,
and it gets cut.
And it gets cut.
That's right.
So when the mayor's office demands to the DPW that they cut the brush, it gets done.
That's right.
But when the regular citizens report it, or the city councilors report it, we don't get it done.
Oh, you get yours. You get your requests done quite often. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I do have a lot of requests, but I'm specifically talking about the brush right now.
No, I don't know what the status is of the brush cutting.
I can tell you what the status was.
I'm sure you can.
I didn't get a response from any
of
my emails now, and I assume that's because they're not allowed to respond to me.
Where are you getting this, that they're not alled to respond?
6 years of experience.
You email the DPW commissioner or the superintendent, and he emails you back. What are you talking about?
When it comes to certain subjects.
You know, you're being disingenuous.
There's something I don't know that's going on with the brush and the potholes. that I'm not sure what...
What do you think is going on?
I'm not sure, Mr. Mayor. You don't seem to know what's going on.
What do you think is going on?
I don't know what's going on.
There's nothing going on.
Once again, we can go back to trust but verify.
There's nothing going on. It's volume of work.
Do you have a report from the DPW that tells you how many potholes they fill,
no.
how much brush they cut?
If I requested it, I would have it.
What work they do on a regular basis? Do you follow up and see the work that's done?
I would have it.
Had you ever requested that?
No. But I know it's significant.
But you know that when you ask them to cut the brush, you know it gets done.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Yeah, because they call me back and say, we've cut it. We took care of it. Thank you.
They do that.
Yeah.
Every time.
They do that.
How many brush requests have you got?
I haven't, none other than the one that you were cause celeb.
The one. It actually wasn't one. Again, it was dozens.
Okay.
And that's because the residents of Fitchburg reached out about the problem.
Okay, our 5 minutes is up on that. Mayor DiNatale, you have 1 minute to ask a question of Councilor Squalia.
During my time as mayor, you have voted in favor of and supported my administration's housing efforts. My colleagues in other municipalities are facing the same challenges. Yet, according to the Lowell Sun editorial, Fitchburg is named explicitly as a community for meeting the challenges of housing production and is doing it correctly. During my administration, I have changed our zoning to expedite the housing permitting process to make Fitchburg one of the most attractive communities for real estate investment. Created a smart growth zoning district, incentivized private developers to utilize the Housing Development Incentive Program, separated the Housing Authority from Leominster's oversight, and they have since brought in over $30 million to the public housing units, built relationships with developers and partnered with them, which has created over 500 housing units for our downtown, including the upcoming redevelopment of the Ivor Johnson Mills. Leveraged and worked with the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority, worked with Newview and other developers to take advantage of affordable and workforce tax credit incentive programs. For the first time in decades, Fitchburg residents had their Unitil bills lowered due to my administration's community aggregation program. My administration will continue to pursue every avenue to fight any rate increase that Unitil proposes. You were promising the voters that you would be better at housing and affordability. Considering these successes, please explain how you would do it better.
Councilor Squalia, 2 minutes.
I would be better at housing and affordability. I don't believe I ever said I would be better at housing and affordability. I said that I explained what I would do for housing and affordability. And housing and affordability is a problem that I constantly hear. I believe that we can work with the Newview communities, with the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority, with the Fitchburg Housing Authority, with Habitat for Humanity, with these state programs like HDIP. We can do TIFs for the city of Fitchburg. I think that developing public and private partnerships with private developers, with the nonprofit organizations, with the financial institutions, I think that encouraging mixed income and affordable housing units together would be exactly the right approach. I think that streamlining the permitting process for housing projects to reduce construction costs and delays, and I think revisiting our rezoning and regulations on a regular basis to ensure that development is working according to these best laid plans. I think it's a complex problem. And I think that housing within the city of Fitchburg, the housing developments, as I have noted, Fitchburg is prime for these kinds of investments as a gateway community. Now, these housing development projects are not the end-all be-all because they do take decades. So I've supported these housing projects, and I will continue to support these housing projects. You know what I really like is the transit-oriented development along the rail line. I think we need to improve that more and promote connectivity to these housing developments also with multimodal transportation. Yeah.
Mayor, a 1 minute rebuttal.
In addition to what we have done locally through and this is something I would ask the councilor, relationships at the state level. The city of Fitchburg in 2022 brought in $290,000 through the efforts of Senator Cronin. City of Fitchburg will administer the Main Street Housing Grant, which will support housing development in upper stories of Main Street buildings. $100,000 for site readiness grant for mass development, for reuse study of vacant industrial land at Fitchburg Airport. $75,000 TDI equity investment for mass development for mixed-use redevelopment at 409 Main Street. $315,000 TDI equity investment from mass development for mixed-use redevelopment at Main Street. $42,000 for TDI technical assistance. $107,000 TDI local grant for mass development for direct business assistance. $475,000 for underutilized properties program grant for mass development. $550,000 for Creative Cities grant, and 2-year program to nurture creative economy within downtown. Should I continue?
Well, let's open it up to the 5 minutes, and then you two can continue open dialogue.
As mayor, I will continue to support these programs, and I will actively engage with our leadership within the state and the regional levels to make those connections and to continue to move us on the trajectory forward.
Examples of community projects that were accomplished last year that have brought positive attention to our city, to our Main Street. That was a $3.3 million MassWorks grant. Twin Cities Rail Trail, public grand opening in June. Community Mural Institute, 3 downtown murals completed and installed in June of 2022. The Open Space Plan, citywide. John Fitch Highway, Climate Resilience Plan. Sam Pollock Playground, very, very important facility for young people with disabilities. Fitchburg Art Museum, new outdoor seating sculpture. Main Street Studios, worked with Habitat for Humanity of North Central Mass, 2 vacant lots sold by tax title to create 2 new home ownership opportunities. Those are just some of the examples. Thank you.
Support those.
We're good?
Yeah. If we want to talk more about the Twin City Rail Trail. Now, I love the Twin City Rail Trail. That's a 20-year project in the making that connects the downtown Fitchburg to the downtown Leominster, of which we're going to see that terminus now in 2024, 2025 come to Main Street. How can we better connect the rail trail in Fitchburg with the existing businesses along the trail? Have you considered that?
Not at this time. Rail trail's not complete.
On the rail trail, like the blue bikes or the e-scooters, I know that we were talking about that with Tom Skorowski, the community development director, the previous to Liz Murphy, and we were talking about these kind of scooters, these e-bikes. Has there been any forward trajectory on that with the rail trail, with those plans?
That is a community development program, and I'm not sure if it's premature to enter into that right now because of where we are with completion of the trail. But I'm sure we will have discussions regarding those kinds of modes of transportation.
Did we have any, do you recall having any of these different conversations with modes of transportation with the community development and the Fitchburg State University? Because I think that's another great connection point that we can make up into the, the City Hall area, the theater block.
Well taken, Counselor.
Down to Fitchburg State University?
Yeah. Well, we haven't, but we can.
And
I'm sure we will.
When you're walking the trail and riding the trail with the bikes, now we're talking, a trail that previously was a rail bed. So there's not previously direct connections to our businesses there. Would you consider connecting from the rail trail to these businesses?
Certainly. That'll be part of the discussion as well.
Have we had that discussion?
Not yet.
Okay. Councilor Squalia, you have 1 minute to ask a question of Mayor DiNatale.
Sure. Let's talk about parting words. Let's talk about that. In January, I will not be a city councilor at large for the city of Fitchburg. So some advice that I have for my elected successor is to respond to all your constituents and always reach out. To attend as many community meetings and events as possible. and to always follow through. So my question to you, Mayor, would be, what words do you have for the next mayor of Fitchburg?
It's interesting that you would talk about accessibility and being at all the events you could. That's certainly something that I would promote for the new mayor. Also, I would strongly urge them to work with their department heads, with them. They are the professionals. Allow them to do their jobs because they know best. And hopefully, and as a requirement, they're going to keep you apprised as the CEO of the city. Keep the mayor apprised.
1 minute rebuttal.
Great. Yeah. So accessibility within the mayor's office with community events, accessibility with the mayor's office with communicating with the public, accessibility with what are the best ways for the mayor's office to be accessible?
I think I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
All right. We've got 2 Facebook pages that the city has, the city page, the mayor's page, email, phone call, texting, and once again, people actually physically showing up at my office and coming in, and if I'm there and I'm available, I sit down with them and discuss their issue. So we're available. I'm available on a regular basis, and my staff is as well.
So when we take constituent concerns, how do we take constituent concerns? Is that just in person and email and via text?
Okay, we're going to open
email.
this up for 5 minutes now,
Yeah.
back and forth. Go ahead.
It's mostly email.
Is there a conscious choice to not utilize social media to engage and solicit feedback from the public?
No.
Address
No,
their
there isn't.
concerns via social media?
I don't think it's to the extent that you find acceptable. But we do utilize social media. And we'll continue to do so.
What do you believe that the extent that I find acceptable is?
Well, I don't know. You're on it all the time, Counselor.
You know I'm on it all the time.
Yeah.
Are you ever on it?
Myself?
How do you know that
I observe.
You observe.
I observe.
Now, how come you
That's right.
don't talk? Why don't you communicate with people?
It's not my style. I'd rather talk to you personally, face to face, and I instruct my staff to get this person into my office to sit down and talk to me across the table, as I find that much more effective. And
But you can also email and text.
yeah, if you want to get to me and say I want to come in and talk to you by an email or a text, by all means.
Okay, great.
All right.
And working with department heads, right?
Yeah.
So the 2 words, the 2 points that you would have is to be accessible and to work with department heads.
Yeah.
In what ways should we be working with our department heads?
You're going to be dealing with them on a daily basis. They're going to be coming in with issues, problems, concerns. You have to make the ultimate decision on how you approach that. But again, if it's the actual job that they're doing, I oftentimes defer to them because they're the professional. They're the people that know best.
So if the department heads want to move a certain direction, you generally support that? If the department heads generally want to share information, do you support that?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Okay, we're good? Okay, we're going to do a truncated last question. Mayor Di Natale to Councilor Squalia.
You have said that you want to eliminate the red tape in the permitting process at City Hall. During my administration, City Hall has taken the following actions to make Fitchburg a more attractive and welcoming city for investment. We overhauled and replaced our entire zoning ordinance in 21 and 22. We've created an online permitting system and a remote inspection portal to move projects forward more quickly, established an economic development task force, created a development review meeting for developers to sit down with department heads, Development is not just about permitting, it's about helping small businesses find the right path to success. We have partnered with Newview and Fitchburg State to create plans for micro businesses and combine permitting with financing. We do walking tours with developers. We bring the state delegation down. We roll up our sleeves and walk our downtown to see the city through the eyes of people who want to do business here. In fact, I've brought 2 governors to walk the downtown with me. We put everything we have into development, but we also have to work with the real world. If you can't change the state building code, the state sanitary code, the state electrical code, the state plumbing code, or the limitations of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A on zoning, how will you make any real changes in the permitting process different from what we have already done?
Councilor, we need to keep this one to 1 minute.
Okay, great. Yes, so I'm glad that you brought that up because the red tape, as a building designer, I hear it all the time, every week. In fact, I hear someone in the office go, Samantha, someone from Fitchburg, and I have to go, what did we do? And then I have to hear the story of the roadblocks and bureaucratic hurdles with developing in the city of Fitchburg. Now, it's good to talk and say that we're cutting red tape, but the problem is it's not been done. We've not actually streamlined our business permitting process. Now, you always have to follow the code, but there is bringing the authorities having jurisdiction together at the table so that business applicants know what they need to do up front and aren't met with 12 months of delays within and then when they finally go to get their occupancy permit, the city says, oh, well, I wasn't in that first meeting. Actually, you need this civil engineering plan that's going to cost you $40,000 and take months of time. So we need to bring everybody to the table and cut these bureaucratic hurdles.
In FY17, please pay attention to this. It may be elucidating. In FY17, 3,331 building permits were issued, with $430,000 collected in revenue. In FY23, city departments have grown those numbers to 5,000 permits issued, with $810,000 collected in revenue, almost double. FY22 was the highest year with 5,247 permits issued, $972,000 collected in revenue. These numbers reflect a 120% increase in revenue collected from building permits and a 57% increase in permits issued, and prove that my administration has cut the red tape and made Fitchburg an attractive place to build and invest. The city has worked with Fitchburg State University in the Idea Lab in conjunction with Newview's Small Business Technical Assistance Program, which has served 257 businesses, including 150 low to moderate income owners, 115 women owners, 88 immigrant and ESL owners, and provided grants and loans totaling $3.37 million. Upcoming projects that we can look forward to: 409 Main Street, 298 Main Street, 35 Main Street, the Fitchburg Arts Community, Turning Point Campus Life Science and Biotechnology Facility, and the new Ivor Johnson Mills Apartments. These numbers are not just signs of an active economy. They are the result of processes we have put in place to work with developers to bring large projects to fruition. Thank you.
Councilor, anything?
Yes.
Quickly.
These are great. Just a lot of these projects that have been listed off are multi-year projects, things that have taken 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and that just harkens back to the concerns with streamlining our permitting process. Thank you.
Okay, by virtue of that coin toss earlier, the first closing statement, 3 minutes, will go to Mayor DiNatale.
Thank you, Kevin. First, I'd like to thank Flap TV, our host Kevin Cormier, and the best public access television there is, FATV, for the work that you all do for our community. In addition, I would like to thank the residents of Fitchburg for tuning into tonight's important conversation, and thank you. 2016, during my inaugural address, I promised Fitchburg we would make our city economically competitive, strengthen our partnership with the business community, create a more efficient permitting process, develop more housing, and use arts and culture as a springboard to celebrate the advantages of art cultural diversity. During the last 8 years, our city has facilitated remarkable economic growth. We have returned businesses to our downtown, redeveloped our historic mills into residential and commercial spaces, brought in new entrepreneur tourists, families, and residents to partake in the renaissance of our beloved Fitchburg. Because of our vision and economic growth, my administration appropriated over $10 million in available funds above state aid to expand our city's paving efforts. This is more than any single administration has ever put towards paving. Our current paving plan is not an engineering problem. It is revenue-based. The only way to pave more streets is to generate more revenue. I have improved budgetary spending, created new growth, and expanded our commercial and industrial tax base, all to build new revenues. Driving around our city, we can see visible changes of progress, and I cannot help but think of people like Aldo Mazzaferro, Elmer Melendez, Don Aker Ayala, Leslie and Roberto Colon, Brian Cody, John Radzinski, Mark McCaffrey, and Alex Shinyas, Peter San Germano, Victor Viciosa Frias, Tristan Taylor, Rosario Nicotra, Manny Joaquin, and many others who chose to believe, invest, and build in Fitchburg. Let me be clear, I have not done this alone. People within City Hall, our public safety departments, investors, our boards and commissions, and most importantly, our residents have rolled up their sleeves and have done this work collectively. Mixed with my experience, relationships, and leadership, we will continue to change the negative narratives and create a positive Fitchburg story, a story of new growth, forward-thinking initiatives, and bold steps. In the next 2 years, I will continue on deliverable paving efforts with multi-year paving contracts, allowing for expedited operations, mobilization, and purchasing power. We will continue economic development efforts and create more housing. I'm excited to bring several projects to fruition like the new Crocker School, the Ivor Mills redevelopment, and the new public library. My administration has a strong track record of leadership, progress, and promise. Joining hands with you, we are ready, experienced, and able to make more positive changes for our community. Fitchburg has one advantage over any other community in the Commonwealth. We are a city on the hill. In the words of NFL Hall of Fame inductee Willie Davis, the road to success runs uphill. When I first took office, Fitchburg's new journey was faced with many challenges, and we have met those challenges as opportunities. We have collectively worked together and have brought Fitchburg more investment, revenue, and growth. On November 7th, I ask you to join me again. Let us continue to climb our rock walk to success. The steep ascent up this hill has only made us stronger, more resilient, and more prosperous. Let's reach the top of Rollstone Hill together. Let us do what needs to be done, and let's do it well. ¿Cuántos nuestra comunidad tiene un solo voz? Vamos a construir un Fitchburg mayor juntos. Por favor, vote por Stephen Aldina Talley el 7 de November 7th. Together, our community has one voice. Let's make Fitchburg better. Together, please vote Stephen Aldina Talley on November 7th. Thank you.
Councilor Squalia.
Thank you. Fitchburg is my home, where my great-grandparents chose to settle from Sicily in 1912. Our family story is deeply rooted in the foundation of our community. This city has been my family's home for generations, and I am proud to be from Fitchburg. It has been my honor to serve you for the last 6 years as your city councilor at large, and now I am running to be your next mayor of Fitchburg. I grew up here, attended our schools, own a business here, and have worked with our partners from the State House to the council chambers, advocating for Fitchburg, advocating fiscal responsibility, transparency in government operations and decisions, and economic business development growth and improvements in our process. I see the promise, I see the potential, and I see our positive way forward. And it all starts with your vote. Your vote for more communication, more innovation, more effective experience in leadership in both municipal government and private business. More energy to move Fitchburg forward together with all our community. With your vote on November 7th, Fitchburg will not change overnight, but your access to your mayor will. The Fitchburg Mayor's Office will have an open door policy, and accessibility, communication, and a collaborative approach will be the foundation of our administration. Because serving our city is not only a job for me, it is a passion. I have not only the knowledge and the experience to do this job, but I have the energy and determination to excel at it. Fitchburg deserves more. We do not have time for the status quo. Now is the time to capitalize on our positive investments with a new energy, a new drive, and a new motivation to get things done. We deserve a leader who will acknowledge the challenges ahead without excuse and consider it their duty to find a path forward in a government that acts not in control, but in service to our citizens. Generations from now, our descendants will look back on us, just as I reflect on my great-grandparents, and they too will be proud. Now is the decisive moment. This is our chance to come together and make our visions a reality. This is our chance to write our story together. Please cast your vote for Samantha Squalia for Mayor of Fitchburg, and join us in this community movement for positive change. Thank you.
And that, folks, is democracy in action. Thank you to both candidates who came here and left it all on the field in this one and only debate between the two candidates one-on-one. Now it's your turn, folks. Go vote. Thank you.